Hey there, and welcome to the Fiihr Factor, the podcast that shines a light on real stories, smart strategies, and the occasional hard truth about running a business. Think of this as your quick dose of clarity before your first cup of coffee. Let's go. Today, I have the pleasure of dealing with and talking with, and in the presence of some real greatness, baller, entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, recognized also, I know, a couple times in Houston as a top CEO or most loved CEO. Tommy Sutherland, I'm so excited for this interview. Thank you so much for your time.
No, thanks, Warren. Thanks for inviting me on your podcast.
And so Tommy, I was just talking to Tommy beforehand. Tommy is calling in from Thailand. So we are almost exact opposites of the clock right now. So thanks for taking the time. Morning for you, night for me, and this is going to be super fun.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
So, Tommy, can you just give me a minute and a half on you and your journey, as much as you want to tell us, and how you got here today?
Yeah, well, as you can gather from my accent, I'm originally from Scotland. So I moved to Houston, Texas at the age of 21. So it takes me to over just 31 years now, who's counting. And since then, I've been owner, operator of a number of businesses in Texas. And over the last 3 decades, I have invested in a number of other businesses, which are also in Texas and in North America, and equally in other parts of the world, Southeast Asia and Europe. Um, and my main focus now, work under an umbrella of my family office, which is Sutherland Holdings, and that's a business which was founded in Texas, and that's what brings me here today.
So very cool. So you come from Scotland, you go to Texas, you have exactly the same accent, or maybe not. What was your first, like? How'd you get started?
I was working for a company in Aberdeen, Scotland, and they just acquired a business in Houston. So they sent me over just on a short secondment for 6 weeks, and I came back again for another 6 weeks and decided to move over here. Initially, it was on a kind of 2 year secondment. Unfortunately, that business that I was working for went into some financial problems. We hit with a bad debt, unfortunately, which resulted in the company filing bankruptcy. So I had a kind of dilemma. I had a wife. I also had a baby on the way, and I had nothing to go back to Scotland for. There was no real opportunity job wise. So it kind of gave me a quick start, or a dilemma, as you could say, into entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how I started my journey from there.
Yeah. So okay. So no pressure. The company goes bankrupt, and you just you happen to have a wife and a baby on the way. So what'd you decide? So why didn't you just go take a job somewhere? Why'd you decide I'm going to start my own business?
I'd seen the opportunities in Texas. I mean, from a larger scale, coming from where I came from, Aberdeen, oil and gas, it's a big player, but until you come to Texas, it's a different level. So I seen the opportunities there. Always had a kind of entrepreneurship spirit, and I did see a gap in the market where I could maximize my talent. So that's what I took the quantum leap. Did I fancy working for somebody? No. Um, I really had a desire to kind of own my future. I had responsibilities, you know, having a wife and a child on the way, and I felt like I could control them a bit more effectively going my path opposed to working for somebody. So it was a risk, but it was a uncalculated risk. But at that time, being young and I was only
Yeah.
23 years at that age, so I was pretty fresh
Yeah.
in terms of what I was doing. So nothing was rehearsed. It was kind of dig deep and go for it.
So I like that, you sort of had nothing and everything to lose at the same time, because you were in a place of uncomfortableness, and you saw a gap in the market. What was the gap?
Back then, there was a lot of heavy industry, particularly down the Gulf Coast, building offshore rigs platforms down in Brownsville was one area there, and Pascagoula, Mississippi. That were my kind of Mobile, Alabama hunting grounds there. And what they were doing is
Yep.
we're building a lot of these vessels were actually being stationed in maybe the North Sea, Mediterranean waters, or Southeast Asia, and they covered a lot of the European specifications, international stuff, which there was a gap in America. Nobody really knew it. I was fortunate enough that a lot of my training that I'd acquired early in my career was through working with those types of products and applications. So I had something to offer that no other business could offer, and that kind of gave me leverage.
Yeah. Okay. So then you took this, you took this skill that you had, leveraged it into an idea, and then how did you go to market?
Well, I had no money, so it was always a
I was
tricky
gonna
one.
say,
So
there's one problem. I've got no money. So there's that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I had a pretty much a small two-bedroom home just north in Houston there, and had a small garage, and I worked from there. I worked originally as a commission agent, so I didn't have the money to fund some of these deals. So I was fortunate enough to facilitate those and get paid a commission on it. And as that progressed, anyway, I managed to kind of give me a little small nest egg, and I started off with buying maybe, one or two small reels of electrical cable, hold that in my garage, and just built up organically from there. I mean, pretty much from ground level up to the point where it was or where it is just now. So, no business formula, just, organic, long growth, sustained growth, and from ground level up.
Total bootstrap situation. I think I want to capture the one thing, and somebody, I got to figure out who said this. I can't remember who said it. So it's terrible. Sorry, whoever I'm quoting right now. But the quote is, if you're looking around for in your organization for the salesperson and there's no salesperson, the salesperson is you. And I come from a big sales background. So talk to me, how important is sales in building a business, in your opinion? I know
Oh,
sort
I
of an obvious
mean,
question, but I think a lot of people kind of forget about that part.
well, they shouldn't forget about it. That would be quite foolish of them, to say the least. I mean, without any sales, there is no business. I mean, that's
Mm,
just fact. So
yes.
sales is the key motivator driver for any organization. Doesn't matter what kind of business you're in, you need sales. It's that simple.
So how do you get there? How do you start? Because I know you coach people at Rice and you teach in universities, and one of the reasons you're doing this podcast is to like sort of spread the word on how to, when you start your business, you got to do X. So sales, what's the key? What is your key component to, hey, here's how you start, or here's my secret success to sales.
Well, there's no secret sauce here. I mean, when I first started my career, it's all about leveraging who you know. So you really got to capitalize
Mhm.
into your network and collaborate with as many people as possible. You might not get instantaneous success overnight, but the more people you engage, something's going to break. So it's important there anyway. So I use the word quite simply, network within your network.
Oh, yeah. So
So
your circle of influence, work that circle of influence hard. And I mean, help them too, right? I mean, networking is a two-way thing.
I mean,
Did I capture that correctly?
you did. I mean, there's different modeling you can do there anyway. I mean, if it's there's a referral models there anyway that all parties win where they can be compensated on it. But to start with anyway, it's all about visibility in sales. It's who you know. So it's creating that sales visibility model, and I think the most effective way, which I've found anyway, is to capture an audience, and how you get out there, and that's a people environment. That's all about people. It was more effective early in my career. I know there's a lot of other means to build on your sales profile. We talk about outbound activities through digital marketing, paid PPC campaigns, LinkedIn, all the above. But sometimes I certainly found in this day and age that we've tend to kind of got lost on how important the people component is. And I'll use my words candidly anyway. We're kind of more, seem to be a little bit more introverted in that regard, all I've found,
Mhm.
people. And a lot of it is comfort, I've found. People don't like rejection. So if you can
Yes.
build on those skills and you can handle rejection and get out your comfort zone and just communicate with people opposed to over the things like Teams or Zoom or email, then you've got a better chance of success. So going back to how I did it and how things are done are a little bit more different. I still enforce the key principles, which is face-to-face engagement, communication, networking, all the above. I do try and instill in sales people that don't hide behind email. I mean, email is good for good conversation. I try to use it as 2 points, two communications, then pick up a phone and talk to them.
Ah,
So that's what I encourage.
yeah, I like it. I mean, we always, in my sales organizations, we emphasize 9 points of contact in 3 weeks. And if you're doing 9 points of contact, 3 of those probably need to be a in person or a phone call or something where you're actually touching, not touching somebody physically, but actually interacting with somebody on a more personal basis. Because, and I believe, I'll be curious to hear your opinion. I believe this is even going to be more important in the future because with AI becoming more automating more and more things, becoming people, I think being real and being who you are and being able to trust somebody and know that they're somebody is going to be super important 5 years from now.
No, I
Thoughts?
think 100%. I reckon it could come back quicker. I mean, a lot of people are. It's difficult to weed out who's authentic and who's not authentic these days. So there's a lot of judgment based on that now. And as you say, to some of these tools, it's what you see it all in. You see it in LinkedIn, you see it in articles and things like that, what AI generated type things. So being authentic is key, and having that communication, I think, is a big leverage point. I think it's got to be accelerate quicker in 5 years. People are getting a hold of AI and what impact it's had, and it's a great tool to use it. But you
Sure.
can't lead your whole sales driven activities based on that. It just won't work. People are catching on to it. A lot of fakes out there, I'm afraid to say. So it's really just weeding them out. And what better way to weed them out if you can, be with somebody in a face to face engagement? That's the best powerful way to do it.
That's so true. So true. Okay. So you started this company, you built it up. When did you get to the point where, okay, so now I got to build, you're like, I can't scale myself anymore. I got to start to hire a team. And my big question here is, did you hire a team one by one? Did you have a vision for what this company was and build out a leadership team to match? Or how do you go about doing that?
Again, we're going back to the early stages. This has been the first business I started was 28 years ago. So, a lot of things have changed since then. You know, I probably wrote my leadership team in the back of a napkin back then, um,
Yes.
or a cigarette box or something, but
Yeah.
something crazy like that. But no, since then things have evolved, as you can well imagine. Back in those days, it was, as I say, it was run on a win. It was very much sales-driven activities, which
Yep.
to shift the needle, to get the revenue in, to pay the bills, as you well know, things like that. Um, Looking at where we are now, just on
Mhm.
the current state of play, how I put together a team is totally different. A leadership
Yeah.
team, putting the people in the right seats. That's the most important part. You've got to have your go-to-market strategy, be aligned with that. And when you've got that figured out, it's just putting those people in the right seats. What they look like, it varies from company. I mean, I'm involved in various businesses and have done for various years, but the fundamentals are the same. I mean, an oversight I had early in my career is I didn't have a strong financial person. I think that
Uh,
can be valuable to have somebody in place there. I mean, I had good people, but I mean, having a strong financial leader like a CFO type thing can add value, keep you on track. Certainly, as a younger entrepreneurs, I'm not just saying this for the basis of you, Warren, but one thing I didn't have early in my career was a coach. I think that's valuable to have. So I would encourage from that anyway. And those things, my point being anyway, financial leadership, making sure that you can recruit and you can afford to recruit, without and keeping you on track. So you've got that sounding board. And having somebody who's, has he been involved or led businesses or have lived, breathed the kind of process that you're looking to get to. And I think a coach can be a good sounding board for that. And if you've got those two pillars there anyway, it'll kind of give you the comfort that you're recruiting the right leadership team, putting the people in the right seats. That's how I view it. That's where the gaps I had previously when I first started,
Uh,
and what I would encourage today. But that's my
that's
personal.
brilliant. So I love that. Sorry, I interrupted you. What I was going to say is I think that's brilliant because what I see with, first of all, younger businesses from a financial perspective is they're running their business like a checkbook business. So it's like, hey, how's your profit? How's your, cash flow? And they look in their checkbook, and if there's money in there, they think it's good. And then the problem with that is if they don't have a cash flow forecast, they're as they scale up, they can run out of cash because the payment for the goods or services you're delivering, you bought them already and you paid for them, and there's a period of time before you're going to get paid for them. Meanwhile, you have to buy more products or goods or services to scale up. Have you seen that happen to businesses in the past?
Oh, I've seen some fantastic, very good businesses go bankrupt because of that, is not having control over a good forecast. So they had the right sales drive, but they couldn't facilitate the growth and didn't have the right metrics in place to manage cash flow. So it's extremely important, as I said to you. I've seen many good businesses fold because of that.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's so sad because they can see it. They went through all the hard stuff,
Yeah.
and then they ran out of cash on the way up, and it's such a bummer. And then the other thing is, I love that you talk about coaching. Thank you for the shout out. I'll take it. Having somebody who sometimes it's just, I mean, there's some wrinkles around the eyes that I think add some, but there's a depth of business experience and leading teams, and then just outside perspective because you're up in the press box watching the game versus in the game, you know, in the scrum, right? And there's some real value there and accountability. So that's where, I mean, that's where I think we've really been able to add value to people's and scale up faster, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I look back. I mean, lived experience is important, and the objective of, I guess, the coaching anyway is to eliminate the mistakes that you could encounter.
Yeah.
And I look back early in my career, I'll self-admittedly made huge, huge amount of mistakes, and it came with a financial consequence. And if I had
Yes.
maybe somebody in my corner there who was external from the business, who'd seen it from, as you say, the press box there, that's valuable insights. Sometimes as a leader, we've got people within an organization, or certainly I've found anyway, is they either just tell you to please you or they don't want a
Yes.
conflict. So if you've got somebody who doesn't have that, is not afraid of that opinion and is just got an external viewpoint, then it's undervalued. So that's something again that I do believe it's valuable to have, and I didn't have that early in my career.
Yeah, it's clearly you've been highly successful regardless of that. So you paid I call it the stupid tax. You paid a high number on the stupid tax to learn valuable lessons, which I'm sure you never forgot. That's the good news.
No, I heard it. I think there's a statement there. I think you might have taken it from Keith Cunningham. He calls it the dumb tax.
I love it.
Yeah. And it was actually in one of his courses. He's a fantastic human being, Keith Cunningham. I learned a lot from him. And it was in one of his, was his 4-day MBA, and we talked about dumb tax. And one of the questions was, how many, add up all the values and mistakes you've made over the years, and you actually add up there and you go, Jesus, wow, that cost me a lot of money. I paid a big amount of dumb tax.
Okay, from the sake of the fact that you actually have taken your money and use it to leverage other businesses and you're taking your business to leverage other, I mean, that's a true entrepreneur. So when did you take that step and say, all right, I sort of got the recipe down now. I'm building the right teams. I know what I'm doing. How do you get to that step, or did you just have a vision for that or see an opportunity?
I like nice things, but it wasn't really a motivating factor for me. So anything I had in terms of extra income, I always reinvested it in. I mean, I had a young family, so I was always trying to do my version of what was best. And that was based on my upbringing. I had a humble upbringing, so I wasn't really motivated by big shiny things in that regard. So I've always looking to deploy my investments or my excess capital I had in other things, and that's pretty much what I did through businesses. I did a lot of property in Houston, and still play in that space. So that was something that I got involved in, and up until now, I'm active in some capacity. I've got investments in up to five pre-IPOs,
Oh,
local ones. So I'm always looking to navigate my investments and their excess capital into something which I can see to get a better return on. So that's what worked for me, and that's what's instilled in for me at an extra time. So go back to your question. Back then in my early, mid, late 20s, up until my 30s, would I went ahead and bought myself a fancy car or a nice watch? No. Or a holiday? No. I would have rather taken that money and bought a little bit of land or an apartment or something. That's kind of how I operated at an early stage, and that's obviously I still maintain those values to this day.
I like that. And the cool thing is if you keep it lean and things don't go your way for a while, you don't need much to survive. And that's a great feeling when you're using your money. I think I like the fact that you think of it as excess capital instead of I made a bunch of money on the business. I'm going to go buy an expendable asset or not even an asset. Really buy an expense is really what you're buying in a lot of cases with a car or a boat or something else shiny, to your point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to capture something that I think because you one thing that is makes you successful, and at least from my perspective on the outside here, is that you have a really good mindset. First of all, you're very humble, so I love that. But you're also like you see these setbacks, you move forward. How do you keep a good mindset?
Fitness is a huge part of my routine or regime. At my age, it doesn't shift. It's become even more important. So that gives me clarity in my mind, and it gives me the drive to do what I need to do. So you know, health is important to me, and I do take those things seriously. It makes me a better all round human being in that regard. So yeah, that's a key critical driver for me to keep me motivated and driven. And what those activities, enjoy. I'm over here in Thailand. I still train Muay Thai, boxing, and those things have maintained a big pillar in my life in terms of how I can operate at my optimum level.
Love it. Yeah, and then what do you when you look for a team when you look for team members? Because I've always been of the mindset when I ran large teams is like half of my time is spent recruiting, just looking for the right people, and the other half is spent figuring out how to fit them into the right slots, which is a lot of what you referred to. What do you look for? Like, what's your non-negotiable in a potential team member, or what makes them stand out? I'll take either one or both.
Yeah. I don't get lost in their education, as you could say. I mean, you get the glossy resumes where they've got all the degrees and academic type things. So I do take a view on that, but it's not a huge differentiator between me. I'll ask leading questions there anyway, which will determine their drive and where they see their future is. That's important to me. Um,
Oh,
so
yeah.
yeah, we've got quite a diverse culture in the world now, as you well know, and certainly in Texas. So it's interesting to see what drives other people. What drove me is different from somebody else. So I need people who are driven and are equipped to do so, and also prepare to learn. Certainly the younger generation, if they're prepared to learn,
Mhm.
then that's huge because me and the elder statesmen will give them the time and effort to do it. Um, Continuity, I know there's a lot of generations now anyway, they'll shift from jobs to job, and that's okay. But trying to, I guess, encourage a level of loyalty because you've got to put a time and effort into that. So it's kind of weeding out those basic fundamentals, which I look for anyway. How they communicate, I guess, is obviously most important. And
Hmm.
I always, interviewing, as you well know, we're all selling each other. I'm selling to you how great my business is, and then they're
Yeah.
selling back to me how wonderful they are, and they could do a great thing for my company and all that stuff. So take away the noise, you know, one or two interviews. But one thing I've found has been a very powerful tool for me is using behavior profiles.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's different ones out there. There's one I use, which is Thoughtful Insights, and that kind of puts you in your kind of disc analysis, but that also allows you to pretty much figure out how I would communicate with them and how they would communicate with me, how the best I could get with them, how the best they come out with me, because it's been a powerful tool. Before I kind of dismissed it early in my career, but when I haven't used it, it's kind of came back and bit me. So I would say
Hmm.
that those tools there anyway would give me an insight in what I believed on the human interaction in an interview, that they've fitted those skill sets, and that will reconfirm my thought. And that's kind of how I kind of use that as a gauge for recruitment. Does that make sense?
I love those. Yeah, I actually, I mean, that communication style is so important. Like, and if I can figure out how to communicate best with you, potential customer, team member, it's just going to be win-win. So there's a that I'm 100% bought into that idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, by nature, I mean, I'm Scottish. You mentioned humble, but I can become quite across intimidating to some people. It's not my nature, but maybe just because how I am perceived. So I have to make sure that people don't see that as, as intimidating, because it's not. It's just the way I'm kind of structured that way. So when you go through the disc analysis, you can find out exactly where they are on the matrix and where there could be a clash, or you could be deemed as offending them, or offending each
Yes,
other. So that's a key driver for me in terms of how that works.
that's beautiful. Okay, so I want to keep, I don't want to take too much of your time. So I want to ask you one more question and then three quick questions. Okay. So
Sure.
the one question is culture. You've got businesses in all these different countries. How do you navigate culture, different cultural differences, if that makes sense?
Well, I can use the one of my Houston businesses, the one that I first started. I still have that business 28 years, and
Nice.
I could tell you that going through the office, the top of my head, where they're from and how long they've been with me. You know, one's from Indonesia. She's been there 26 years. One's from El Salvador, 26 years. One's from France, 13 years. What else have I got? Myself, Scottish. And then you add in, Pennsylvania, you add in Texas, and, you add in Mexico. So that's a mixed breed of culture and loyalty. So I guess my interpretation is how you adapt to people and be pretty much mindful exactly where they came from, and that's it. So culture is a huge thing in a business. I don't really know. It's maybe just a natural progression. It's something I've built, but I've certainly done it my own version, and in testament, as I said to you, I've got a lot of these people who have been with me for a long
Yeah.
time, and still to do so, have grown with me in my business as well. And the same applies to the ones I had in Asia. You know, again, mixed breed of people from, local Chinese, Singaporean, Indonesian, Scottish, American, Dutch, South African. It's I managed to do it. I don't know what the secret ingredient is, but it just comes from some maybe my leadership qualities in terms of just being
Yeah.
mindful that where they're from, we're in it together, and that's it. I don't know if it's answered your specific question. I don't know what the
Well,
if that's the correct answer
I mean,
is.
I think one thing that transcends different cultures. I haven't done business all over the world, so I've done business all over the United States, but and a little bit worldwide. But one thing that transcends all cultures is sincerity and honesty and humility. And if you have those, people can tell. I don't care what language you speak. Some of that stuff translates through to everything. So then there's differences. There's other background differences, and that's you got to be mindful of it. Like you said, I think you captured it well. Okay, speed round. Here we go. These are really important questions. Not really important, but they're fun. If you were an animal, what animal would you be?
Tiger.
Tiger. All right. I like tiger. Just any background on that? Any why I mean, you're in martial arts for goodness sakes. Your arms are about the same size as my legs. Clearly you're in great shape, but talk to me about tiger.
Protective.
Nice.
I guess, is one thing, and not afraid to hunt.
Yes. I love it. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Okay, next question. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I haven't quite figured that out, actually. A good question, though. You know, we're always mindful of giving people advice, but I haven't quite figured out at my age. I'm happy what I've done and achieved anyway. So I'd like to think I'm not quite growing up yet, but if I continue my path is in terms of what I do, but I don't want to be an astronaut. I don't want to be a politician. I'm quite happy in my space and my lane, just being a businessman and giving back to the community. I'll settle with that and be the best version of me.
That's beautiful. Okay, and last question. When you're gone, what do you want to be remembered for?
Humble, loyal servant to my family. I mean, there's no great possession than children. So if they can, over the period of time I'm remembered, that they can reflect on some of my skills as a parent, and that was
Mm.
impactful for them, then that settles well with me. That takes away anything in business and accolades or accomplishments and that. So how I'm remembered by my family is important to me in a positive.
I love it. It's beautiful. And I'm sure, you know, you didn't talk about it because it's secondary to your family, but I'm sure the impact you've made with your teams and growing team members and growing businesses and giving back to charity and giving back to communities is another way you're going to be remembered for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've come to that point in my life and career anyway, is that I work because I enjoy working. And I do like to give back to younger generations, and I'll continue to do so through various types of organisations, stuff I don't really feel comfortable or anything again to tell you in public domain at this moment, but I do give back more than I have done over the years, and I'm very mindful of that. And that's important for me.
That's awesome. Tommy, thank you so much. I'm thoroughly blessed to be able to spend time with you virtually, and I'm thankful for the wisdom that you have shared with me and listeners and also with all the other folks. I know the other stuff you do and you invest time back in the community and in the young folks so they can learn. And so I just appreciate you. Thank you so much.
No, thanks, Warren. I appreciate you taking the time. It was thanks for inviting me on your podcast. Enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Enjoy Thailand.
Will do. Thanks, Warren.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Oh, that was great. Tommy, man, there's a dude that has gotten a lot done in his life, treated a lot of people the right way, been creative, been entrepreneurial, leveraged his extra profit to do other businesses. Uh, hey, look, here's the deal, Texas businesses. If you are if you're in the industrial space, especially electrical, he's looking to invest. So industrial space with electrical, Tommy Sutherland, man, you want a great investor, a great leader, somebody that can actually really help you grow your company. He's your guy.
Liked what you heard? Let's make it real. Schedule your free coaching session today at sugarland.actioncoach.com.